the past, and from a world gone by, seek an immortal tale, the Commodore 64.
Good evening. Tonight I want to take a trip back in time with you. Back to the year 1984. Just imagine you just came back from a shopping tour with your parents, and you came back with this. The brand new Commodore 64. With a brand new Commodore 64 dataset. You got a manual which tells you how to set the system up. The quite heavy and quite yellowed in 30 years power brake. The cassette unit. You need to load programs. This was very common in Europe until the late 80s. Not so common in the US. But I got mine with the cassette unit in the first place. Not this one. I got this one because just when I got my 64, the Commodore 60 was released and it did not sell at all, so they sold this with an adapter. Yeah, and of course the Commodore 64. This one has been modded a little. It's got a reset switch over there, and it once got speed DOS, but I've reconverted it to the original state because I want to use the tape drive. So it's a made in Germany model. I think late 83 or early to mid 84, I'm not sure. So what have we got on the back side? We've got the cartridge slot, where you can put in games on cartridges, just like on the Atari. This is a Final Cartridge 3, which is not a game, but in the early days it was usually used for games. Here we've got a channel selector screw, so you can tune it to a channel, I think something between channel 31 and 40 something in UHF. Usually it's 36 or 38. RF out. This is the video out. The serial output for the disk drive. Some of them have descriptions over it, but this particular model hasn't. A cassette port and the user port. This is useful for printer, for interfacing printers, or if you've got speed DOS with your drive, disk drive, then you would use that. And here we've got the plug for the power supply, on-off switch, and two joystick ports. Nothing fancy. It has a full-featured keyboard with two cursor keys, the Commodore key, a run stop, the shift lock actually locks, and it's a quite nice keyboard. And the cassette unit is a typical cassette recorder, nothing special, but it uses a Commodore specific plug, and it's powered by the machine. The manual, this one is in German, so I won't go too deep into it, but it basically tells you how to hook up the system and how the keyboard does work, how the special control key works. Nothing special. A short introduction to BASIC. It's a very basic, so it's not very long, but it contains everything you need to operate the system and to get into programming. It contains nothing to motivate to get into computing or programming, but if you are already into the stuff, it contains every information you need. But more importantly, I've got this. with my Commodore 64. No, I haven't got it with my Commodore 64, I've got it before. Since some of my classmates already had a 64, I managed to pirate some games. And it was actually a cheap as 99 German Pfennige tape like this. Not this tape, the actual tape that didn't survive, but it was the same brand. I've prepared this. Can you see it? Can you read it? This pretty much resembles what was on the original tape. It was filled with goodies. So let's hook the system up and let's have a quick look how the Commodore 64 operates and what. Okay, I've hooked up the machine, and the first chapters of the manual describe something like you can lose the Commodore key, the control key to change the color. To use reverse on. Okay, return turns off the reverse on. The manual probably says that, so you can do some stuff like this. Yeah, blue on blue. You can write simple programs. Yeah, that's innovative programming. But it's boring. What we all want to do, what I wanted to do back in the 80s, is play games. So since I had my very special tape, I could do this. And I had to wait, and wait, and wait, and wait. And finally I got this, Turbo Tape 2. One of my classmates had Ghostbusters on tape without turbo tape, and I remember it took ages to load. And every second load attempt it finished with a load error, so we couldn't play the game. So this is really great. So what does Turbo Tape 2? It's Turbo Tape 2, but they're basically all the same. What does it do? Well, it speeds up tape access. So to access tape you use the arrow key with L to load a program. And yeah. You got this weird flashing red screen and a little bit of noise. This sounds pretty much like the noise if you would put the tape into a cassette player and listen to it. But yeah, instead of some 10, 15, 20 minutes, it just uses 1 or 2 minutes to load. So this is great. And it already should be finished in a couple of seconds. A couple of seconds more, but and it's ready. That was pretty quick, even quicker than loading from disk, but I didn't have a disk drive for that at the start of my Commodore 64 career. I got it 2 or 3 months later for Christmas, but with these, I did get a load error every second time, because these tapes were totally crap, but hey, I just had to load it 2 times and it was for free. So let's have a look at the game. Just a quick one. I'm a little bit too loud. And yeah, my remote only works every second time too. And yeah, this is a great game, quite spooky, for a young child at least. But I won't play it too much, I want to show you some other games. But this was really spooky with the scary faces, the strange music, and all the other. I'll probably do a separate video for this game. It was also available on the 8-bit Atari. Okay, the next game. And the reset switch of course doesn't work for power cycling. And yeah, now for the bad things with cassettes. For all the other programs I need to load turbo tape. So I have to rewind to the beginning of the tape and load turbo tape again. So I'll edit this and forward to the next game so you don't have to sit through this again. Okay, I've positioned the tape at the right position. I've loaded turbo tape. So arrow L, press play on tape. That's the rest of the previous game. And that's the next game. Aztec Challenge. Another of my favorite back then. So the loading times from tape for these early games, the short ones, wasn't that bad. And there were turbo tapes available without the flashing screen and the terrible screaming noise. So if you mind that, you can do without. But I liked it. I could actually hear which game it was back then because I've loaded them so often and I've listened to this so often. So I could recognize the game from the noises and from the flashing screen. And it's about to finish soon. And it's ready. Okay, let's have a short look at Aztec Challenge. This might look very simple, but it's very intense. You have to be concentrated all the time, or they'll hit you. But it's an amazing game. You just have to reach the pyramid at the end. It should get bigger over time, but yes, it gets bigger. But I'm concentrating on the spears, and the music was great. Will I make it in the first try? I don't think so. This was awesome back in '84 when and of course you have to start from the beginning, but I won't play the game, I'll load another game. So one last game. I positioned the tape and let's load it. Killer Watt. It's sort of strange game, but I really liked it back when I was a kid. Maybe that's because I was a strange kid, I don't know. But I really like it. And there, here in the background, you can see some other parts of my collection, some Commodore 16 tapes over there. And it's already loaded. It's Atari 800 XL with a tape drive, Commodore 64 2 with a 1541 2. You see the part of it, and let's start this game. This might not look very exciting, but you must remember I came from the Atari 800, and Atari 800 games was the only games I played, or were the only games I played back then. And this is a great update to Atari games. And it becomes quite yeah, wall. So this was my experience when I first got my Commodore 64 back in 84. So I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be a part 2 when I show you my experience when I got my floppy drive a couple of months later. And there might be a part 3 where I describe some of the accessories, there were different models of tape drives, different models of floppy drives, and as you can see here, different variants of the Commodore 64 itself. But that's for part 3. So thanks for watching and have a pleasant night.